As the darkness gathers around you, the silence of a winter's night can be almost palpable, a living entity that wraps itself around your senses, slowing your heartbeat and quieting your mind. It's in moments like these that I always come back to this one, the tale of the Franklin expedition, a story of human endeavor and the unforgiving vastness of the Arctic wilderness. The year was 1845, and Sir John Franklin, a seasoned naval officer, had set out to navigate the treacherous Northwest Passage, a route that had long been the holy grail of explorers. His ships, the Erebus and the Terror, were state-of-the-art, crewed by seasoned sailors and equipped with the latest technology, but they were no match for the crushing power of the polar ice. You would have heard the sound of cracking and groaning, the ice shifting and reforming as the ships were slowly, inexorably trapped in the frozen grip of the Arctic. The crew, confident and optimistic at the outset, would soon find themselves facing unimaginable hardships as the months dragged on and the ice refused to release its hold. The sun, a distant memory, would have been a fleeting presence, a faint glow on the horizon, as the expedition struggled to survive in a world without light, without warmth, and without hope. The darkness, it seems, had become a living entity, a presence that seeped into the very marrow of their bones, a constant reminder of their mortality. As the weeks turned into months, the crew's situation grew more desperate, their supplies dwindling, their bodies weakened by the relentless cold, and their spirits crushed by the isolation. The ship's logs, a testament to their struggles, would later reveal the true horror of their situation, a tale of starvation, of disease, and of madness as the men, one by one, succumbed to the abyss that had swallowed them whole. And yet, even in the midst of such unrelenting bleakness, there's a strange, haunting beauty, a sense of awe that can't help but be inspired by the sheer scale, the unforgiving power of the Arctic landscape. The ice, it seems, had become a mirror, reflecting the darkest aspects of human nature and the true depths of our own fragility. As you drift further into the darkness, the silence is almost palpable, and you would have heard the creaks and groans of wooden ships if you were standing on the icy shores of Beechy Island, where the remnants of the Franklin expedition still linger, a haunting reminder of the frozen grip of fate that sealed their doom. The year was 1845, and Sir John Franklin, a seasoned Arctic explorer, had set out to navigate the treacherous Northwest Passage, a task that had eluded many before him. His ships, the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror, were sturdy vessels, equipped with the latest technology and a crew of seasoned sailors, but nothing could have prepared them for the unforgiving power of the Arctic ice. I always come back to this one, the Franklin expedition, a tragic tale of hubris and nature's fury, a reminder that even the most experienced explorers can fall prey to the unpredictable forces of the natural world. The ships sailed into the Canadian Arctic archipelago, and as they navigated the narrow channels and icy waters, the crew encountered increasingly harsh conditions, the temperatures dropping, the winds howling, and the ice closing in around them like a vice. The ships were sturdy, but the ice was stronger, and as the winter of 1846 set in, the Erebus and the Terror became trapped, frozen in the grip of the Arctic sea ice, their crews forced to endure the long, dark winter with limited supplies and no hope of rescue. As the months dragged on, the crew's situation grew more desperate, their food running low, their bodies weakened by the harsh conditions, and their minds numbed by the endless darkness. The ice, once a novelty, had become a prison, a constant reminder of their mortality and the futility of their endeavor. The ships, once proud and strong, were now mere specters, frozen in time, their crews trapped in a living nightmare from which they would never awaken. And as you lie there in the darkness, you can almost feel the weight of their fate, the crushing pressure of the ice, the slow, inexorable march of time, as the Franklin expedition slipped further and further into the abyss, lost forever in the frozen grip of fate. As the darkness closes in around you, the silence is almost palpable, and I find myself drawn to the vast, frozen expanse of the Arctic, where the doomed Franklin expedition met its fate, a haunting reminder of the power of nature and the fragility of human endeavor. The year was 1845, and Sir John Franklin, a seasoned navigator, had set out to chart the elusive Northwest Passage, a water route that had long been the holy grail of Arctic exploration. And I always come back to this one, the sense of adventure and discovery that drove men to brave the unforgiving polar landscape. You would have heard the stories of Franklin's previous expeditions, of his bravery and cunning, but this time something was different, a sense of foreboding that hung in the air like the faint whisper of a winter breeze. The ships, the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror, were sturdy vessels, well equipped for the journey, but as they sailed deeper into the ice-choked waters, the crew began to feel the weight of their isolation, the creeping sense of dread that comes from being utterly alone in a vast, frozen wilderness. The days passed, and the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the ice, shadows that seemed to stretch and twist, like dark, spectral fingers reaching out to snuff out the faint light of the expedition's hopes. The crew worked tirelessly to navigate the treacherous waters, but the ice was relentless, closing in around them like a vice, its grip tightening with each passing day. And then there was the sound, a low, mournful creaking, like the very fabric of the ice itself was groaning in protest, a sound that seemed to echo through the stillness, a haunting reminder of the expedition's fragile presence in this vast, unforgiving landscape. It was a sound that would have sent shivers down the spines of even the most hardened sailors, a sound that seemed to whisper of the horrors that lay ahead, of the long, dark nights and the endless, frozen days, of the slow, agonizing descent into the abyss of the unknown. As the expedition struggled to survive, the ice seemed to be slowly, inexorably closing in around them, a living, breathing entity, determined to claim them as its own. And in the darkness, you can almost hear the sound of the ice, creaking, groaning, whispering its dark, eternal secrets to the wind. As you drift into the darkness, the silence is almost palpable, a heavy stillness that presses down upon you, much like the icy grip of the Arctic itself. And it's here, in this frozen landscape, that the whispers of the past begin to seep into your consciousness, faint echoes of a long-forgotten tragedy, one that has haunted the imagination of many for centuries. The year was 1845, and the British Royal Navy's Franklin expedition, led by Sir John Franklin, had set out to navigate the treacherous Northwest Passage, a water route that had long been sought after, but never successfully traversed. And I always come back to this one, the way the expedition's optimism and determination slowly gave way to despair and desperation. The crew of 129 men, aboard the HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, were well equipped, or so it seemed, with provisions and supplies for a journey that was expected to last several years. But as they sailed deeper into the Arctic, the ice began to close in around them, its grip tightening like a vice, and you would have heard the sound of creaking wooden hulls, the scraping of ice against metal as the ship struggled to break free, but it was a losing battle. The expedition's progress was slow, the ice was thicker than expected, and the crew was forced to spend the winter of 1845-1846 frozen in the ice near King William Island, where the silence was oppressive, the darkness almost absolute, and the cold, it was a living thing, a creature that wrapped itself around you, seeping into your bones, your very marrow. As the months dragged on, the crew's hopes began to fade, their bodies weakened by the harsh conditions, the lack of food, and the ever-present threat of the ice, which seemed to shift and writhe like a living entity. And it's in these moments, when the darkness seems absolute, that the whispers from the ice grow loudest, a gentle reminder of the fragility of human life and the power of nature to shape our destinies, a psalmer melody that whispers itself into your mind, a lullaby of ice and darkness, and the slow, relentless creep of the frozen wilderness. The ice, it seems, has a way of preserving secrets, of holding them close and whispering them to those who listen. And as you listen, the silence begins to take on a life of its own, a soft, gray mist that seeps into your consciousness and carries you away on a tide of darkness and ice. As the darkness gathers around you, the silence is almost palpable, and I find myself drawn to the frozen vastness of the Arctic, where the ill-fated Franklin expedition met its demise, a haunting tale that I always come back to, like a whispered secret in the dead of night. The year was 1845, and Sir John Franklin's crew had set out to navigate the treacherous Northwest Passage, a journey that would prove to be their last. The ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, sturdy vessels, but no match for the unyielding ice that slowly, inexorably closed in around them. You would have heard the creaking of the wooden hulls, the sound of ice scraping against the ship's sides, a mournful sigh that seemed to echo through the frozen landscape, as the crew struggled to free their vessels from the icy grip that held them fast. But it was a losing battle. The ice was too strong, too relentless, and the ships were slowly, inevitably being crushed. The days passed, each one a struggle to survive, the crew's hopes dwindling as the ice continued to tighten its grip, the temperature dropping, the darkness deepening, and the silence, oh, the silence, it was almost deafening, a heavy blanket that suffocated all sound, all life. The Erebus, once a proud ship, now lay helpless, her crew trapped, their fate all but sealed, the ice stretching out before them, a vast frozen expanse that seemed to stretch on forever. And the men, they must have felt so small, so insignificant in the face of such overwhelming power, their dreams of discovery, of glory slowly fading, as the reality of their situation became clearer, more stark, more terrifying. The last days of the Erebus, they were a time of quiet desperation, of men waiting, watching, hoping against hope, that somehow, someway they would be rescued, that the ice would miraculously release its grip. But it was not to be. The ice, it seemed, was merciless, unforgiving, and the crew, they were at its mercy, their fate all but certain. In the stillness of the Arctic night, the only sound, the soft crunch of snow, the creaking of the ice, a haunting melody that seemed to echo through the darkness, a reminder, a warning of the power, the fury of the natural world, and the men, they were just small, insignificant players in a much larger, much more sinister drama, a drama that would ultimately consume them, body and soul. As you drift deeper into the stillness of the night, the darkness outside your window seems to seep into your room, and I'm drawn to the frozen vastness of the Arctic, where the silence is almost palpable, a heavy blanket that wraps around the ice-encrusted landscape. It's a place where the passage of time is measured in the slow, incremental movement of glaciers, their frozen surfaces etched with the lines of countless winters. I always come back to this one, the story of the Franklin expedition, which set out in 1845 with such high hopes and expectations, only to vanish into the icy grip of the Canadian Arctic. The HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, two sturdy ships, were tasked with navigating the treacherous Northwest Passage, a journey that had captivated explorers for centuries. You would have heard the sound of ice scraping against the hulls, the creaking of wooden beams, as the ships struggled to make their way through the frozen waters. The expedition was led by Sir John Franklin, a seasoned naval officer who had previously explored the Arctic regions and was well respected for his bravery and seamanship. His crew of 129 men was handpicked, the best of the British Navy, eager to prove themselves in the harsh and unforgiving environment of the Arctic. As they sailed deeper into the ice, the days grew shorter, the nights colder, and the silence more oppressive, punctuated only by the occasional howl of wind or the crack of ice. The ships became trapped, frozen in the ice, and the crew was forced to abandon ship, setting out on foot, with limited supplies, into the vast expanse of the Arctic wilderness. It's a journey that's almost impossible to imagine, the bleakness of the landscape, the biting winds, the endless snow, and the overwhelming sense of isolation. As the months dragged on, the crew's hopes of rescue began to fade, and the reality of their situation set in. The silence of the Arctic became a constant companion, a reminder of their isolation and the vastness of the landscape that stretched out before them. The ice, which had once held such promise, now seemed like an insurmountable barrier, a frozen prison that would eventually claim them all. And yet, even in the face of such overwhelming adversity, there's a sense of calm, a stillness that pervades the Arctic landscape, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always a sense of beauty, a sense of wonder that can be found in the most unexpected places. As you sink deeper into the stillness of the night, the shadows around you grow longer, like the icy fingers of the Arctic itself, slowly creeping in to claim the last vestiges of daylight. It's in this somber atmosphere that I always come back to this one, the tale of the Franklin expedition, a journey that began with such promise, but ultimately succumbed to the unforgiving vastness of the polar landscape. In the spring of 1845, two British Royal Navy bomb vessels, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, set sail from Greenhithe, England, bound for the Canadian Arctic, with the ambitious goal of navigating the treacherous Northwest Passage. Sir John Franklin, a seasoned explorer, commanded the expedition, which comprised 129 men, all eager to chart a new route to the Pacific and claim the prize for the British Empire. You would have heard the sound of creaking wooden hulls, the shout of orders, and the clang of anchors being weighed as the ships disappeared into the horizon, carrying with them the hopes of a nation. The initial stages of the journey were marked by optimism and anticipation, as the crew documented their progress, collected specimens, and conducted experiments, but the landscape itself seemed to grow more ominous with each passing day. The ships sailed up the western coast of Greenland and into the Canadian Arctic archipelago, where the ice began to close in around them like a slow-moving vice. By September 1846, the expedition had become trapped in the ice near King William Island, and the crew was forced to spend the winter in the frozen wilderness, with limited supplies and no hope of rescue. The long, dark nights of the Arctic winter must have been a daunting prospect, as the men huddled around the dim light of lanterns, and the silence was only broken by the creaking of the ship's wooden hulls and the distant howl of the wind. The darkness outside seemed to seep into their souls, as the reality of their situation slowly dawned on them, and the ice, once a novelty, became a prison from which there was no escape. As the darkness gathers and the silence of your room envelops you, I'm drawn to the frozen tundra, where the remnants of a long-forgotten dream lie entombed in ice. The Franklin expedition, a grand endeavor to chart the Northwest Passage, set sail from Greenhithe, England, on May 19, 1845, with two sturdy ships, the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror, and a crew of 129 men. You would have heard the clang of hammers on metal, the creak of wooden hulls, and the shouts of sailors as they prepared for the journey of a lifetime. Sir John Franklin, a seasoned explorer, stood at the helm, driven by a vision of discovery and a thirst for glory. I always come back to this one, the tale of a quest that ended in tragedy, a reminder of the unforgiving power of nature. As the ships sailed north, the crew encountered the icy grip of the Arctic, and the landscape shifted from the familiar to the unforgiving. The endless expanse of white stretched out before them, a seemingly impassable barrier that tested their resolve and their skills. The days shortened, the temperatures dropped, and the ice closed in, trapping the ships in its deadly embrace. The crew fought to free themselves, but the ice held fast, an unyielding foe that would not relent. The months passed, and the expedition's hopes began to fade, like the dying embers of a fire that once burned bright. In the stillness of the night, I imagine the crew huddled around the faint light of a lantern, their faces etched with worry and fear, as they realized their fate was all but sealed. The ships, once proud and strong, now stood as monuments to their failed ambition, frozen in time, a testament to the hubris of men who dared to challenge the fury of the Arctic. The expedition's legacy is one of tragedy and loss, a reminder of the devastating consequences of human folly. And yet, even in the face of such disaster, there's a haunting beauty to the story, a somber reflection on the dreams that drive us and the price we pay for our ambition. As the darkness deepens and the shadows lengthen, I'm left to ponder the frozen dreams of grandeur and the enduring power of the human spirit, which can inspire greatness, but also lead to devastating downfall. The ice, it seems, has the final say, a silent witness to the transience of human endeavor, a reminder that even our most cherished dreams can be reduced to nothing more than a memory, lost in the vast and unforgiving expanse of time.